right, welcome back to Cricket for Americans. Nick here.
Oh, Gabe, the night watchman. And I gotta wear my Knicks hat today, even though we're talking about cricket, because the Knicks are 500, Nick. 2-2 for the first time in I don't know how long.
I was going to say, when was the last time they were at 500?
They won 2 in a row.
It's like NBA Jam. They're heating up.
Have you seen the movie Soul yet?
No, not yet. We're gonna check it out in the next few days.
So there's a funny clip in there, right, where there's the soul that can mess with people when they're in nirvana, right, when they're in the zone. And there's this funny clip on YouTube that we'll put the description and link where that specific soul, right? There was one lady doing Romeo and Juliet, and when Juliet's giving her spade, Romeo, oh Romeo, he hits her with a thing and she forgets her lines. She's like, lines. Somebody's working on a tattoo artist is working on somebody's tattoo in their back, and it's like, zzz. And then a New York Knicks about to go for a dunk, and you don't see it as a New York Knicks, you just see this the blue shadow of the basketball players, like, oh, I've been messing with this team for decades, and they go up for a game dunk. I promise you, it's hilarious. Up for a game-winning dunk, and they hit him with the little soul bowl or whatever, and he misses the wide open. And the Knicks lose another heartbreaker. It is hilarious.
Does that mean that Han Solo, our viewer, he works for Pixar? Did he do that scene?
Maybe, bro. It's hilarious. But honestly, bro, that's how much of a running joke the New York Knicks have become, that even in cartoons and popular culture, it's fashionable to make fun of them. It's hilarious, bro.
All right, so let me set the stage for the second test match. The first test match, Australia wins. It's a close match after the first innings for both sides, and then India has that detrimental all out for 36. Detrimental. Yes, we're talking about our 3 wickets. Thank you.
Our 3 wickets, baby.
3 wickets. And so that was what India had to survive, leave from that first test match, knowing they just got historied. They just got destroyed. It was a huge debacle. Not only that, but you're losing King Kohli for paternity leave, and you have a whole bunch of nonsense. And what are we going to do? So the beginning part of what they're going to do is, against what I wanted, they made Rahane the captain because he was the vice captain. It makes a whole lot of sense. I didn't like what he was doing in the first test match, and I overreacted as usual. I don't want to see Rahane out there because Rahane can't run, right? This guy should not be considered the captain. I was way off, all right? They bring in Lord Siraj. They bring in, obviously, let me get to this because they brought in a few guys here. I want to make sure they bring in your boy, Shubman Gill. They bring in my man, Sir Jadeja, because he's nice and fit and ready to go. And they have themselves a nice, decent little squad here. And I don't know. They didn't have Pont the first game either, right? No, they didn't have Pont, correct?
They had Saha.
They're pushing out for Saha. So they make changes. And Australia goes first. They get 195. India hits first the next time in their first innings, get 326. They made changes, and they made the perfect changes to the point where right now I love myself some Rahane. I don't care if he can't run, which is funny because he got run out again in this match. But they said it's the first run out he's ever had. So he caused King Kohli to go down the first match, and then he got run out in this match. And it's just hilarious that he's never got run out before. That's why I say he can't run. Gabe, what are some of your initial thoughts on this test match?
My initial thoughts in this test match is, while India made changes, right? Some key changes. They brought in, as you said, my boy Shubman Gill, which everybody's like, oh, he's too young. He's not an opener, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, guess what? He performed both innings way better than your boy Shah did, than Prithvi Shah, just saying. You know what I mean? For all those naysayers out there.
My boy, what is that?
Not your boy. I'm saying in general, because a lot of Indian fans were defending Prithvi Shah. And again, we're here at Boring Review Nations and at CFA. We don't condone any of the death threats the guy was getting or social media attacks. That's not cool. But to say that he's been playing bad since the IPL. So that's why Nick and I were both shocked. And we're like, what? Wait a minute. Where is these other guys that outplayed him in the IPL? Shaw and Padikkal. Now, again, limited sample size for us, but when a guy is hot, it's hot. And Shubman Gill was hot. All right? Shaw wasn't. With that being said, I think Australia, what upset me was even though we won that next test, we won because our bowling was amazing and a historic collapse by India. But in their minds, they had not there was no inning that Australia has scored more than 200 runs. This was the first time they had an inning at 200 runs. Even in the first game, they didn't feel they needed to make a change. They brought back Burns. Oh, we'll talk about that later. Oh, we're going to talk about that later. They brought back Burns like we don't have anybody else. I want to know, honestly, what did Uzi do that he is so hated? Because Uzi is way better than Joe Burns. All right, Burns hadn't scored a run. He had that good second innings in the first match when there was no pressure because India was all out 36, but he was horrible. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. They just felt, we're going to throw the same team out there. All right. Again, you have two huge injuries, right? With Pekulski, is it Pekulski? I cannot pronounce that name. Pekulski,
I think.
Pekulski and Warner. But if it didn't work in the first test, why wouldn't you bring some other guys up in there? You know what I mean? Like they kept the same team. And to me, I think that really was to Australia's detriment in this match because they felt like they won that first test match. Well, remember, if it wasn't Tim Payne's 73, then India wins that first day, right? Or that first inning of the test match as well. And who knows if it becomes 36. At one point, it was 130, I think it was 130 for 6 when Payne came in. Oh, no, it was 98 for 6, actually, when Payne came in. And he had to put in 73 runs. That's the work he put in to get them to their 186 or 196, whatever it was that they had. You know what Tim Payne averages, Nick? You know what Tim Payne averages in tests? 27.
Yeah, 30 or something like that, yeah.
30, yeah, basically 30 runs. So you needed a huge game to even get there. And nobody said, maybe we want to throw a couple centuries in that lineup for the next test match. Nobody thought that there was that glaring need. Really? Ozzy has a couple centuries. Just saying. Oh, you got to be kidding me, bro.
So I absolutely agree with you. You got to make change. We've been saying all the time, and we've been told all the time, cricket, we don't have changes in cricket, Nick and Gabe. It just doesn't happen. You can't be, knee-jerk reaction. Well, that knee-jerk reaction helped a lot for my boys right here. So let's go ahead and get into what we didn't like since we're on this wonderful negative train here. Let's go into what we didn't like. And I've got to say it right now, and I've mentioned it a few times in the stream since, I am not happy with Mayank Agarwal. I hear he's not going to come back in the third test, and I think that's the right move because when a guy is not going good, and he played better in the first test. I don't think he had any big scores, but he played better. But as far as a batting standpoint, I think he had like a total of like 5 runs or 9 runs or some garbage like that. No, 5 runs. He got one more than your man Rory Burns, okay? One more, or Joe Burns, whatever his name. One of the Burns out there. He got one more than him. So I'm not really happy with Mayank Agarwal. Another batting person I'm not too pleased with, and it's going to be blasphemous because this guy has a track record, but I have not seen it, and that's Pujara. Pujara, he lasted 70 balls in the first innings, and then he lasted 4 balls in the second innings. You're going to say, but Nick, they only had a small score to chase in the second innings. He only saw 4 balls because he got bowled out. He got caught and bowled, caught by Green, bowled by Cummings. I have not been impressed with Pujara, and they had told us that he did not do one of the practice matches because Kohli or selection committee or Shastri or someone to blame said, oh, no, this is Pujara. He doesn't need that kind of practice. He needs to practice, ladies and gentlemen. Luckily, we had great performances from some guy we're going to get to in a little bit. But Pujara, you got to do better than that. And doing Pujara things does not really help out when you only see 70 balls. So I have not been too pleased with him on that side. As far as the bowlers go, what did I not like on the bowler side? Because there's a whole lot to like. What did I not like? The best I can come up with is Umesh, and I'm sorry to hear that he's gone down with injury. Hopefully he gets better, he gets fit. But he had the second highest economy rate in that first innings, and he had 0 wickets. And then in the second innings, he got himself 1 wicket, and he actually he corrected it quite a bit in that second innings in his only 4 overs. Well, that's what happened. He only had 4 overs, but he had his 1 wicket in that second innings when India or Australia completely collapsed. They didn't use him too much, maybe because he was injured. He even finished the 4th over, so maybe he got injured in that 4th over, but it looked like he was doing a little better. My point is this. The bowling side was really, really good for India, so I don't really have too many complaints there. The batting side was good enough. That 326 in the first innings was huge, especially since they got Australia out for 195, and they're able to put it through. I was so nervous watching it because we just came off the all out for 36. I'm watching this, and I'm like, please, let's just get to 195. Okay, let's get to 225. And then I fell asleep 326. So that was just absolutely humongous. And there's a few guys you got to give the credit to on that. But altogether, collectively, besides my man Mayank, collectively, and besides the tail, we're not going to talk about the tail. Collectively, everyone did a great job. Last thing I didn't like, I just mentioned right there, the tail end. Our bowlers, and I say our Indians bowlers, they cannot wag any kind of tail whatsoever. That's what I dislike, Gabe.
You know, it's easy to say that, oh, you gave up 326 to India. But 326 in test is a respectable score. Remember, this is not limited overs. This is not 50 overs in ODI or T20. That's the beauty of test. You got to get those. It's those 10 wickets, cousin. All right. I've seen scores not in the past. I was watching the first or the second inning. It might have been the second day, still first inning, right, for South Africa and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka put up 400, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a performance! And everybody in the chat's like, it's a good performance for Sri Lanka, but it's a decent score. You should be scoring at least 300 or better. You know what I mean? And what does South Africa come and do in their first inning?
600 burger.
All right, 600 burger, 199 for Faf. All right, my West Indies consistently getting smacked around by New Zealand, who consistently puts up 350, 400 in first innings. My point is that I'm not going to get on any bowler for giving up 326 to India because that's a decent score, okay? India's got some talent and you know it. For me, it's all on the hitting side. It's on the batsman side. And again, when you can't score more than 200, 195, that was their first inning score. 195, this score. Last game, they didn't get any innings above 200. You got to look at the batting. And right now, we don't have anyone that can put together a century. God forbid a 199 like Faf, all right? We had a 73 the first inning, from Tim Payne. But this inning, our top scorer was Lobushank at 48. Joe Burns, stop making excuses for him, people. A duck on 10 runs. You're an opener. You're supposed to face that new ball. The minute you go down, that means somebody else got to come in to face that new ball, and you're putting them, you're making them liable. Okay, you're a liability to this team right now. Bottom line. And again, you got Matthew Wade, 30 runs, okay, on 39 balls, not okay. Out of there too early. Again, if you're an opener, ideally, you want to get at least through the first 15, 20 overs until the shine gets off that ball. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. That's your job as an opener. That's why, you know what I mean? So I don't understand, how they came into this game thinking that wasn't going to be a problem. Steve Smith, I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it, and it's driving me absolutely insane. I've officially broken up with Steve Smith. It's it. It's over. Okay, look, over. All right, our bromance is over. He's now part of the Sinister Six because I'm convinced he hates me. Okay, he had 2 huge performances in was it T20 or ODI, Nick? No, it was in the T20. The game I watch him, he went out on a duck, or was it 8? 8 on a duck. I can't remember. It was a low score. Okay, I have not seen a big performance from Steve Smith at all this year. IPL, maybe 1 century. That's it. But whether it's T20, whether it's ODI, whether it's Steve Smith hates me. And that's it. I'm done. I'm done with Smudge. It's over. Okay? That's it. It's over. The love affair is over.
You broke up with him over a stream? You couldn't call the man?
I broke up for him over stream. Even worse than texting him. You know what I'm saying? It's over. No. Over stream. Can't do it. Can't do it anymore. Gosh. When you're missing David Warner, all right, the other big bat on this team, you would think you're gonna step up. Smudge got 0 runs on 8 balls in the first inning. Went out on a duck. Am I exaggerating, people? What's going on? Come on, man. This batting is atrocious. And if you're an Australian fan, you got to feel the same way I'm feeling right now. Hold these guys accountable. And you know what? Hold the JL. I don't know what he's thinking. Some people actually say supposedly that Uzi and JL have like some kind of he rubs them the wrong way. They had not a falling out, but he's out of favor. Uzi, I don't care about out of favor. I care who's gonna win, who's gonna help me win. And Joe Burns ain't helping you win, especially when Steve Smith is playing this bad. Gosh, it's so bad. It's brutal. This is how bad it is, Nick. This is how bad it is. Nathan Lyon scored more, and I'm not even.
His name is Gary. Gary
outscored both Joe Burns and Steve Smith in the first innings, and Patty Cummings. And Mitchell Stark. He scored more than 4 players on your team. Good job, Gary.
Good job,
Gary. And he only scored 20 runs. I'm not lying. Look it up. Okay, let me help you out.
Nice pun. Nice pun. I'm not lying.
I'm not lying. Here we go. Mitchell Stark, 7. Patty Cummings, 9. Steve Smith, a duck. Joe Burns, a duck. All right. Gary, that's who we're counting on? Gary? Oh, my God. You know what, bro?
Oh, that was a moment right there. That's top 10 2020 CFA moment right there. Gary?
Seriously. Oh, my gosh, dude.
Hey, at least that tail wags, my friend.
That's, you know what? Nick's always optimistic. At least the tail wags when the top of the order guys can't get it done. Well, you know what I mean? The bowlers are. Don't worry, guys. We got you covered. Gee, come on, bro. Seriously.
You lost me on that one. All right. I'm going to jump right into what I liked. And it starts with one guy, but I'm going to save him for the end because there's a lot of things to like, a whole lot of stuff to like. Shubman Gill, you mentioned it. Bring the young boy in. Debutant Shubman Gill. I'm sorry, first innings against the big bad Australia bowlers after all out for 36. He got 45 on 65 balls. He had a strike rate of almost 70. He had 8 boundaries for crying out loud until he got edged. What else is new? Tim Payne catches it, right? Then you got my man, Sir Jadeja, which I still have not seen Excalibur's clip yet. He busted out Excalibur. I remember being on the stream when he came up to bat before I called it a night. And I said, does this guy bust out Excalibur for 50s? They said, no, only centuries. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. He busted out for 50s. This guy does not leave home without Excalibur. This guy goes to the supermarket to get some lentils, and he has Excalibur in the trunk. I mean, this guy does not mess around whatsoever. And if he gets a good deal on those lentils, if he buys 3 bags and gets 1 bag free, he says, hold on a second. He busts out Excalibur, and he does the celebration because he's so excited about that deal. I love this man. And I once again, I completely apologize for any ill will I sent to Jadeja. He will never, ever get another angry word from me 100% because this guy is the man. All right. Now, there's some bowlers I'm going to give some love to, but I'm going to wrap it all in the one man that gets all the credit, and that is my man, Ajinkya Rahane. I think I said that first name right. Rahane is an absolute beast. He is a hero of Indian cricket because Indian cricket was basically dead. This was the Ashes Part 2, the day Indian cricket died. No Kohli. Rahane has to come in after he just sold his boy out like that in that run out. That was atrocious. He comes in with the selection committee. I'll throw Shastri on there too. I give him all the credit in the world for the changes they made. And then not only did he make, what have I said a million times about Kohli's captaincy? I love Kohli as a batsman. I love Kohli as a cricketer. I don't love Kohli as that example, as that leader. This guy led by example. He got a 112 in that first innings after the all-out for 36. He had a strike rate of 50. He saw 223 balls. He had 12 boundaries. This guy, 112, he led his team. He led him with the bat. He led him with the selection. He led him with the ball, I'm trying to get to in a second. Absolutely fantastic. And how did he get out? It was a run out. That's why I say Rahane cannot run, right? He cannot do it. Not when I watch, at least.
Let me stop you right there for a second. So everybody was making a big deal about how Rahane had never been run out before, right? We have a challenge for you guys. Find out how many times he's been in the partnership where the other dude gets run out because Rahane hangs him out to dry like he hung Kohli out to dry. Because if he's not Rahane, how is it Rahane? If Rahane's not Rahane, he's hanging other people out to dry. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna take a book out of KL Rahul or Dinesh Karthik's book, a page out of his book, and instead of just hitting more sixes, I'm gonna tell Rahane just hit more boundaries so you don't have to run, because then you'll be good to go, my friend. But this guy, he got man of the match, and I give him man of the match. This is what I want to mention right here, okay? This is what I want to mention about him. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 catches in the first innings against Australia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 catches in the second innings from Australia. What did I say, Gabe, in the ODI series with Australia? I said a captain needs to put his fielders in place. They need to do it. I've been watching the BBL, and these captains are changing the fielders on every ball, for crying out loud. Don't tell me that fielding placement does not make a difference. Don't tell me that those catches aren't huge and they don't save the matches in test. He had the field placement going, and I'm sure he had help. It wasn't just him. But what did he do, Gabe? He said, I don't care about pace in Australia. I'm bringing in the spinners, right? It's like Joey, I want to eat, I want to go, or whatever he says. My camera's falling down. He wants the spinners. He brought in Lord Siraj. He brought in Ashwin. And not only that, but he put them, I mean, I can just go on all day about the decisions he made, and I give all the credit to Ashwin. Ashwin was an absolute beast. This guy better never not be on that plane when they're going to go play for international cricket. This guy better always be on the squad. If he's not, then I'm going to lose my mind, because this guy, listen to this, Gabe. Bumrah got 4 wickets. That's huge, right? 4 wickets in the first innings, almost a 5-er. That's a beautiful thing. But Bumrah saw 16 overs. He gave up 56 runs. You know, Ashwin had 24 overs, 8 more overs, and he gave up 21 less runs. Ooh. And he had 3 wickets. As a spinner in Australia, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And I give credit to Rahane, but I give a whole lot of credit to Ashwin. And then also Siraj. He was an RCB, right? Not the best of the IPL, and that's T20. And that's not even international T20. This guy showed up. He had a better economy rate than Bumrah, and he had himself 2 wickets. And then what happened in the second innings? Rahane was no idiot. This guy said, wait, Ashwin had a low economy rate and almost as many wickets? I need more Ashwin. It's just like I need more cowbell. I need more Ashwin. I got to have more Ashwin. All right, so what'd he do? Bumrah saw 27 overs. Ashwin saw 37 overs and still had a lower economy rate. They both had 2 wickets. Siraj, the spinner. He's a spinner, right? Or is he pace? I don't want to confuse myself here.
No, I thought Siraj is pace, actually. I know Ashwin is the spinner.
Hold on, let me fix this right here. Yeah, he is. So even though Siraj is pace, sorry about that. I thought he was spinner for a second. This guy was still a beast. He had himself 3 wickets and a lower economy rate than Ashwin or Bumrah. The bowling was fantastic. And then Jadeja doing Jadesian things, as always, on the batting side and the bowling side. I give all the credit to Rahane. He was an absolute beautiful man out there on the cricket field and in the decisions. We need more Rahane, less Rahane, and a whole lot more Ashwin. Got to have more Ashwin. Gabe, what'd you love?
I got to say, I love the bowling. Let me tell you something. And you know what? Nathan Lyon Gary, let me just tell you his line. Forget about the 20 runs, even though that he had to get as a batsman, because if he doesn't get that 20 runs in the first inning, then India doesn't even get the. I'm sorry, Australia doesn't even get the 195. Okay, he was a big contributor to that. You want to talk about the tail wagging? He was the main wagger of the tail. Patty Cummings scored 9 runs. Mitchell Stark scored 7 runs, and Josh Hazelwood scored 4 runs. Nathan Lyon was the tail wagging, my friend, but he didn't just do it with the bat. He did it with his bowling. His line, Nick. I mean, it was. Listen to this: 27 overs, okay, 4 maidens, 72 runs. All right, he had actually for as many overs as he's bowled, other than Josh Hazelwood, who won 23 overs, only 47 runs. His economy rate was 2. Economy rate was 265. He had 3 wickets. Mitchell Stark had 3 wickets, but he gave up 78 runs. He had a 3 economy rate. Okay, I love Gary, bro. He's just. You know what's funny? Even when they were out of it, let's go all the way to the second inning. When the bowlers are dejected, India's just trying to close this game out. All right, let me read you everybody else. 4 overs, 20 runs, 1 wicket for Mitchell Stark. That sounds like an IPL rate there, my friend. Okay. Patty Cummings, 5 overs, 22 runs, 1 wicket, 440 economy rate. Josh Hazelwood, 3 overs, 1 maiden, 14 runs for no wickets. You know what Gary did? Even at the end, when he knows it's over, 3 overs, 2.5, almost 3 overs, 5 runs, 176 economy rate. He just doesn't give in. He's got that fighting spirit where even if I know this is a blowout, I'm going to still go out there and do my job and make it hard for you. I love this guy. And he is the heart and soul, I would say, of the Australian bowling. Even though they got these great pacers like Mitchell Stark, Patty Cummings, Josh Hazelwood, who's coming to his own. I love Gary, bro. And that's the kind of fight you need in this team. All right. Another guy, Tim Paine, did not have his finest day with the stick. Okay. He got out with, what was it? 1 in the second inning. And in the first innings, he did, let's go back to the first one, 13. Okay. So 14 runs. But you know how many catches this guy had during this game? You saw the difference between a great keeper and then a shaky keeper in Pant. Pant had 3 drops. Pant had 3 drops, and people were telling us, yes, Pant can rake, but catches win matches, and Saha's a better defensive catcher. You know what? I can admit when I was wrong. I was right about Shubman Gill. I was wrong about Pant. Pant still needs to improve his defense to be back there, Nick, because in a closer game, those 3 catches matter. You know what I'm saying? If you're playing New Zealand, if you're playing who's right now on fire, I don't know who can beat New Zealand, but if you're playing a game and it's a closer match, you don't think those 3 catches matter? You know what I'm saying? You don't see that from Tim Paine. Tim Paine, if you just go down the list, you see all the catches he had and his captaincy. He's still out there leading his guys, man. I love Tim Paine's captaincy. That's what I loved. Nick, what did you learn?
So besides learning that Siraj is actually a pace bowler, sorry about that, guys. I learned a whole lot, and I've mentioned it many, many times, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I learned that even in a Royal, a Classic, a whatever game you want to describe cricket as, you have to have those knee-jerk reactions when you're playing a team like Australia in Australia. It's so difficult to win there, because their bowlers are so used to the conditions and so used to the pitch and the ground. You have to, it's all out. Where all guns are ablazing. You may not do that with other squads, but you got to do it against the best of the best when they're playing in their home grounds. And I love that, whether it was, I want to know who was in charge of making these moves, because they're already going to make more moves for the third match, which I love as well. Whoever's making these moves, whether it all goes to Rahane, Shastri, selection committee, whatever it is, I love these people for having the guts to make these moves and not to sit there and say, quote Shastri from early in the year, this is the greatest Indian test squad we've ever had in the history of. Stop it. That greatest test squad got shellacked in that first match. Whoever had the stones to make the changes, I absolutely love. So what did I learn? You don't always want to make those changes. I don't think it's a good habit to make 3 or 4 changes after every single match in a test series. But when you're down and out, when you see everything that looks like a duck, you've got to change that. And you've got to avoid those ducks, no pun intended. So I absolutely love that. I mentioned a whole lot about spin. They actually had a majority of pace. Once again, the whole Siraj mistake. But their bowlers were they were in a different mindset. And then the other thing I'm going to learn, taking from your side, Australia, this is what kind of a difference maker Hazelwood is. Hazelwood was basically non-existent in this match. He had himself the 1 wicket, and that's great. He had a low economy rate, but he was basically non-existent. And look at what India did. Hazelwood is that wild card. He's not your best bowler, but he's a wild card because he can wreck matches when he's on. He's able to get those wickets. And so I just want to mention that. And also Cameron Green. I'm not rooting for Australia, but I was really impressed. He stayed pat, saw over 100 balls when they were trying to survive in that second innings. So I was really impressed with the young kid. I think he deserves a chance to go in there in the third match. That's what I learned.
What I learned about is, it's kind of twofold, right? If you got to work with what you have as far as resources are concerned. So what I mean by that is, India has way more. The pool is so deep that if you don't make a move, you're going to be criticized for it. Does that make sense? Because you can literally have 2 test teams for India, 3 test teams for India. Because if one guy falters, it's like, well, where's, Shubman Gill? I'm still crying off the top of the hill. Why do they hate Sky? You know what I mean? Where's Sky? Bring me some Sky. Think about guys who aren't playing right now. Dewan's not playing, right? Shah, I get it. The guy's, early in the year or his last test last year, I should say, he scored a couple hundreds, then at 50, right? He's off this year. So if you're on the Indian squad, you really can't afford to have too many bad outings because there's so much pressure with the guy behind you. There's so much pressure from these other guys. So there's, again, a slew of talent out there ready to come take your spot. So I think that the captaincy is, in your opinion, and you've mentioned it 2 times, a myriad of times already, Nick, too much pressure. You cannot be the captain of all 3 teams because you have to juggle all 3. You got guys that are T20 guys. You got guys that are test guys. You got guys that are ODI guys. You have to be able to focus on one because there's so much. They got to also be knowing what guys are doing on the domestic level, right? Okay, what's he doing at domestic or cricket or at first class cricket? You know what I'm saying? They got to follow all that stuff. It's too much. On the Australian side, they've got the BBL, so they've got these other guys and first class cricket, which are playing. I think they need to, in my opinion, either play some additional, I don't know, man. Their batting is just not developing. And without Smudge, and we also saw this in the show, The Test, so we should have been ready for this. Think about that tough 18 months that Australian team had, Nick. There was no Smudge, no Warner, and what happened? They were getting slacked. And even when they had good games, because some guy would come up with a good performance or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They were still getting smacked because this team revolves around those 2 guys. If you don't have Smith and you don't got Warner, you're in trouble. Thank the Lord we found Marnus Loboshank, which actually came in as a replacement for Smudge when he got assaulted by Jofra Archer at the Ashes. That's how I'm going to call it. It was assault, all right? He was assaulted by Jofra Archer at the Ashes. But you know what I mean, bro? They've got to do something with the development as far as batting is concerned, man. And it is so glaring to see the disparity in both lineups, man, where you're like, it was funny. Me and Jihan, not this test match, but the test match before that, we were watching it and we're like, oh my gosh, this person's down, that person's down. Okay. And he's like, well, we got Tim Payne still. And I'm like, oh yeah, Tim Payne's going to do it. And of course, Tim Payne comes out and does it. Gives him to 73, but the guy only averages 27. So that was a outlier. You know what I mean? That was just a spectacular performance.
It was because you opened your mouth. That's why.
I opened my mouth. You know what I mean? But the point is that you don't have. We just did a video not too long ago about the comparison between Australia's test team and India's test team, right? This wasn't our comparison. This was actually a reaction to a video from Australia's own broadcasting network, and it's not the BCCI, is it the
it was some news thing, but it was their own journalists.
Yeah, their own journalists, and they're putting it up there. Everybody on India averages 50 or better. Everybody on Australia, you got like one dude, one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Maybe two. It was not the time, obviously, that when they were doing it, there was no Steve Smith. This was shortly after the suspension of Steve Smith and David Warner. But that just shows you the disparity. Even if you put those 250s in there, nobody else, Martin Schlabbershank might average 50. Joe Burns ain't. Wade ain't. Okay, Travis Head ain't. I mean, come on. Cameron Green is new. I get it. Patty Cummings ain't. This is a problem. You cannot depend on your bowling. And man, it's going to be a dark year if we do not get Smudge back. Hopefully now that I've officially broken up with Smudge, he can like stop playing bad. He could get from under my curse and start throwing up his 50s and his 100s. And David Warner, they need to like spray him down with that ice or do something. Maybe get him a bionic groin or something, because he also hurt himself in the IPL. Man, because we can't lose those guys. We just can't.
Gabe, I was streaming some BBL action last night, and they were talking about the India-England series coming up in 2021, and it was hilarious. They were all concerned about who you were going to root for. They're like, please no, not our squad. And I'm like, well, you guys know I'm going to be rooting for India, so he's going to have England. He's like, no, don't, just make sure he's rooting for India, please. It was hilarious. You are definitely mush, and I am absolutely loving it. If this is the only match, and hopefully it's not, but this is the only match India wins in Australia, I'm still going to hang my hat on it because it was a beautiful match. Question is, boys and girls, what are your thoughts? Comment below. Let us know what you think about this match. I'm sure we missed a lot of stuff. I'm sure we made more mistakes than just my blunder on Siraj. Let us know. Correct us, please. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time.
That's 6 runs.